What's up, team? Sean from Rest to Live. Let's build a $10 million business together right now. Now, here's the deal. Anyone can do this. Okay. So let's start off real simple and have an honest conversation. It has to be something you can start today. It has to have a low cost to initiate the business. And it has to be something that doesn't require heavy skills, no serious equipment, and frankly, no technology in the beginning at all to even get started. So if you're thinking it's impossible, I can't do it, all good. Maybe it's not the right thing for you to watch. If you're interested in starting your own business that could scale to the tens of millions of dollars, I think you might find this really interesting, very actionable, and also very prescriptive. Now, that being said, it doesn't have to get to 10 million. You could get to 5 million, 1 million, three-quarters of a million, whatever the number is that you're looking to make, you could do it and potentially sell it, continue to operate it, whatever you want. But let's kick this off and actually have a great conversation, okay? So here's the first thing I want you to do. I want you to find a local dollar store or something like that, a low price store, and you're going to grab a couple of spray bottles, like, the type with the little nozzle that you spray. You're going to get some buckets. You're going to grab a couple of sponges, some squeegees if they have them. But let's try to keep the cost around 25 to 30 bucks. And at a dollar store, that really shouldn't be that difficult. Next thing I want you to do is head to a hardware store and you're going to grab a nice quality exterior soap or window cleaning material. Okay. So none of the stuff that you would buy at like a supermarket. You really want it to be for like commercial purposes. Okay. So the cost here, I don't know, about 20 bucks, give or take. Look online for coupons or order it wherever you need to, but keep the cost low. That's the key here. Okay. So 30 bucks for some of the material at the dollar store, 20 or so bucks for the material that you're going to need to clean with. Okay. The next stop we're making is we're going to head to Staples. It could be anything like a Staples, but there's one near me, so that's the reference point I'm using. So now that we're Staples, we need to have a plan for what we're going to do here. So let's talk about that. I want you to spend about 10 bucks on business cards. That's going to have a very simple company name, your phone number, and an email. Okay. So since you're just getting started out, we don't know where we're going to go yet in direction. You can do something simple like a free Gmail email. And you can always just change the voicemail on your phone for the time being to a more professional sounding business. And then, of course, just pick a name you like. It could be your last name. It could be a color you like. It could be a type of vehicle you like. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to get into the motion here of understanding that you don't need a lot of work to get something started. And you can always change it later, okay? So as an example here, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're going to be talking about window cleaning, commercial window cleaning. So as an example, I might just call it Sean's Window Express. Okay. It sounds relatively real. I've got my equipment. I've got some business cards with my name, number, and email on it, allowing people to follow up with me. So pretty legit, right? So now we've spent to this point a total of about $60. Okay. That's between materials, the cleaning solution, and business cards. Now, the other thing we want to focus on is getting some nice one-page sort of flyers or even trifold flyers, right? We're going to keep it simple. You can use ChatGPT to help you write out some marketing material, what we do, what we charge, the benefits of using our services. Team, it's that simple, okay? So we're going to spend the rest of that $40 to get a nice amount of them designed, printed, and obviously in our hands to start working with, okay? We want to make this as simple as possible to get the ball rolling because remember, low skill, low cost is the theme here today. Now the benefit is with all these things, you look like a pro, okay? And it's also really, really, really simple to go a little bit above and beyond and start a free Facebook page. You can start a free Twitter. You can start a YouTube, very much like the one I'm on right now, at no cost, right? All of these things have no costs. You can add Instagram in the mix, whatever it works for you. You can have a Reddit. The key is these are free ways to get the word out about your business and also have referenceable material to say, hey, check out my webpage. Hey, check out this. Hey, check out that. You could even take it a step further and go and spend 10 or 12 bucks on a website, use the free website technology of a GoDaddy or a Wix or whatever, and have a nice professional webpage too. But my point is, you don't even have to necessarily do all that, but still relatively low cost. Okay. So now that we're on the same page, we know we're going to be doing some window cleaning, which really is not a huge amount of skill to it. You can watch some free YouTube videos to make sure you're doing it the right way. The key that we want to focus on is going to be commercial properties, right? We don't want to touch residential. We don't want to deal with all that right now. Okay. Now, here's the important part, right? We're going to get serious about how to generate a $10 million valuation of this business, even when you're starting at zero like you are right now, okay? So you're not going to be selling one cleaning at a time, okay? I want you to really step back and understand this. The goal is not simply to trade your time for the cleaning because it's never going to add up and you're never going to scale that way. What you're going to be positioning is a yearly service where you can either do monthly or quarterly cleaning of the windows. Now, depending on where you live, I'm thinking warm temperatures, cold temperatures, dry or arid areas versus wet, snowy areas. You can sort of manipulate this to fit the weather patterns that you deal with, but overall, still very valuable. But again, I want to really push this point one more time. You're selling this as a yearly service, okay? This allows you to collect more money up front or have some sort of ongoing contract where you can collect that money. There's lots of apps that allow you to collect payments that are also, again, team, really, really cheap. Stripe, Square, even those websites on GoDaddy and Wix oftentimes will have integration with payment providers that are relatively free or extremely low cost, okay? So just, again, let's keep all that in mind. Really easy is the key here. So I think you'd probably agree. At this point, there's nothing at all we've talked about that you couldn't literally do by the end of the day today, frankly. All of these things could be up and running very quickly. So the next thing I want you to do is find some local spots that you can actually present this material to and be totally honest with those business owners. Think pizza shops, convenience stores, locally owned businesses in and around the area you live. I still want you to be hyper local. Look around your house and draw a 1 mile circle around it. What businesses are around you personally? Okay. And the big thing is honesty really pays here. Explain to the owners you're a young entrepreneur, you're just getting started, and you'd really appreciate the business. And you can offer a guarantee. If at any time you're not satisfied, you can cancel the yearly contract, no problem. If you're really ambitious, you could offer to clean one window at no cost. And if they agree that the service looks good, perhaps they sign up for that yearly contract upon completion. But again, be careful with your time. That's the real benefit here is you want to make sure you're leveraging your time the right way, okay? Now, once you've done this and you have a few spots open, you're making a little bit of money, you've got some yearly contracts flowing in, you can start to upgrade your equipment and start to think about hiring maybe a buddy, maybe 2 buddies, whatever works, right? So eventually the idea here is you want to start to get to a point where you're less running the day-to-day cleaning and more running the business and growth of your business, okay? So what we want to focus on is adding more clients, potentially expanding the services ever so slightly. I'm going to talk about this in a second, and also expanding your local area or capacity. And the key here is you want to be very careful because the last thing you want to do is overachieve success too early in a service business and let people down, not be able to commit to what you've signed them up for. So make sure you have the hours and the material and the capability to service what you sell. Otherwise, your reputation is gone. And the most valuable part of this entire operation is, in fact, your reputation. Okay, so the point I want to speak to about the more services is you want them to be extremely easy and part of the process that you're already doing. So don't offer to sweep the parking lots or clean the gutters or things like that, right? We want to keep this hyper-focused on window cleaning for the time being. If that means an upgraded type of soap, or they can choose their time and there's an upgrade service for that, something like that, early morning, late night, whatever. That doesn't necessarily cost you any more money, but it's a consideration that might be worth more to a customer who, opens for lunch and wants to make sure you're not there cleaning the windows during lunchtime, okay? So things like that, you can get really creative and add more value to the business. Now, again, I would hope you would agree at this point that absolutely anyone can do this. Now, you're still probably scratching your head thinking, okay, well, cool. This doesn't sound like a $10 million business. And yeah, we're not there yet, but we're growing. And the goal is that as we continue to grow, we start to think about expansion and how we can look at this from the standpoint of bigger and better operations. So let's keep going here, but let's also keep it really simple still. Let's transition to thinking about the numbers for a second, okay? And we want to keep them really basic. It doesn't mean these are numbers you have to use. You could check your area. You could probably charge more. Maybe you have to charge less, but make sure you're charging the appropriate amount. Don't try to go super low just to win. Okay, value your time so that you can afford to pay your people and materials and still have a nice hefty profit at the end of the day. So let's just take some wild numbers here. Let's say we charge about $50 for a cleaning. I picked a really, really low number at $50. I'm assuming it's going to be quite a bit more than that, but I want to really give you some breathing room here to get to the goal. So let's assume we charge around $50 for the cleaning. In a 1-year package is going to be what you're positioning to every client. So let's just say you do this on a quarterly basis. That's a $200 contract value, or TCV, right? That's the total contract value. In the ACV, the annual contract value, these are important terms for businesses like this. The ACV is also $200 because they're the same. Now, if you can get creative and get a customer who's really amped up about having you help them, maybe you can offer them a special package to say, well, look, if you sign up for 2 years of services, so 8 cleanings, I'll actually knock it down to only $45. So now you actually have a $180 TCV, even though your ACV is only 90. So it's a longer term contract, you spread it out. But again, I don't want to confuse anybody here. I just want to push that out there as an example. Okay. So every single contract is $200. And our goal is to get to a point of around $40 of profit on that contract. Use that as sort of your level, right? After you pay some people to do the work and the materials, we're targeting somewhere in the neighborhood of a $40 profit. You might be saying, okay, well, why 40? That gives you a 20% profit margin, which is a pretty healthy after everything margin for the business that you can keep reinvesting that and putting it towards expansion as needed, okay? So now the next step here for yourself is to start thinking a little bit bigger, okay? Let's see if we can get you up to 100 businesses that are signed up so that you have a top line revenue of $20,000 and a bottom line revenue of $4,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe you don't need employees yet at this level. Absolutely, that is correct, because 100 businesses on quarterly cleanings, that's not going to be a big deal over the course of 3 months to clean 100 windows, right? Or buildings. But just keep that in mind. At 100 businesses, you're doing a top line of about 20,000 and a bottom line profit of about 4,000, okay? Now, if the average person you hire can handle 4 cleanings a day, and I'm really, really lowballing, okay? But just hear me out. 4 cleanings a day, that's 20 per week, okay? Excuse me, or 240 per quarter. So realistically, 240 businesses per employee should bring in about 48,000 in top line revenue and $9,600 in around, right? $9,600 in profit once all is said and done. Okay. So each employee that we hire should have a revenue associated with them of about $48,000 and a profit of just under $10,000. Now, you can really think about how you're going to double down on expansion. Okay. Now you start to have a little bit of money. You can start to think about some marketing dollars. You can start to think about where else you can expand. So we're talking new clients. Maybe it's a larger area. Maybe you start doing that paid marketing. Maybe you even hire someone else as well to help with some of these things. I'm not saying you should, but it's certainly a consideration you can make. Okay. You can also go out and get a business loan so you can even add more equipment, maybe get a truck or two or a van, and even think about just different upgraded services. But I wanted to call this out for a second because I think it really speaks to the fact that you don't have to get a loan. You don't have to buy specialized vehicles. You can still keep this as easy as you want. It just depends on the end goal and how big we're trying to get here, okay? So I just want to call that out. Now, let's say you've been able to do this for a couple of years and you've expanded. Things have gone really well. You pretty much are dominating your local region. Maybe you're, excuse me, 5 or 10 miles around, maybe it's 50 miles, right? So whatever works for you based on where you are. So let's say you've expanded to 100 employees. All right, we're going to keep the numbers relatively close to where they were. I understand this doesn't have to be perfect, but again, let's make the point. Years have gone by and you've expanded to 100 employees. And with new add-on services, you're averaging $300 on top line and $60 on bottom line per contract. So we found a way to not only expand the service, but also expand the lifetime value of those customers. So we're getting them to spend a bit more, right? So let's do some quick math here. 100 employees times 240 contracts per employee times 300 per contract is 7.2 million in total revenue from a window cleaning business. Okay. So with the contracts and team in place, you could say the future value of the contract is about $10 million. That's a little bit between 1 and 1.5x of annual top line. Okay. Now, of course, I know what I'm going to hear here. I'm going to hear that people are going to say this could never happen. It's BS. It's not that easy. And team, let's be honest here for a second. Nothing is really easy when it comes to starting an 8-figure business, but you can still get it to 100K value, 500K, a million, whatever that you want it to be. But I do think it's worthy of calling it out here that by expanding the employees that can do the cleaning, maximizing their time in cleaning, and maximizing the top and bottom line per cleaning or per contract, it's really easy to see how the math works out to build a business of this size. Now, I wanted to do something else too, because I think it's important to call this out. You don't have to just do this for window cleaning, say, right? You could do it that you offer commercial property security. You put someone in the parking lot for a couple hours per night and you charge for that. And you suddenly have 200 buildings you're doing this for. This could be about generating leads for roofers. This could be any kind of a business at all that's out there. But what I want you to understand is it is not that hard to get to these big numbers. It's just about a slow and steady progression of a really basic idea. I even want to throw an additional way of thinking about the window cleaning business that after you get to a certain point where you're pretty saturated in a reasonable market that you can control, if you have good internal leads coming in from your efforts of marketing, you could also sell those leads to other window cleaners or other service companies or maintenance companies, right? That are in totally different areas than you, maybe the other side of the country, maybe other states, right? Even maybe other counties that are near you. There's so many ways to get started with something that's this simple and think about how to make it into a humongous business. So with that team, what I wanted to end with was this. Largely the only thing stopping the average person from getting up and building something for themselves or building something big is the inability to take a step back and understand that it doesn't have to be complex or technology or anything else, right? You can open up a lemonade stand and have 100 of them running after a couple of years, right? You might want to open up a pool hall and next thing you know, you franchise it out and have 1,000 of them across the US. It's all about how you think about it, right? You have to start with your hands deep in the business, but as you can start to get away from it and focus more on managing the business versus making the business, right? You got to separate those things. It's important to understand that sometimes you need to be a manager and sometimes you need to be an entrepreneur focused on growth. So with that, I would love to hear what you think below. I actually love doing stuff like this. I do it all day. This is how I think about how I grow my own businesses. So drop a comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you have an idea like this, share it. I'd love to talk to you about what you've grown if you've grown something. So team, with that, thank you so much. Have a great day. And hey, let's clean some windows and make 10 million bucks. Okay.